The Municipal Planning Commission at 1 o'clock. Welcome, everybody. Agenda additions and approval. Is there anyone have any additions from the board? I'm not seeing any staff.
From administration, Mr. Chair.
Can I get a motion to move that forward? Mr. McKay, all those in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Minutes, April 16th meeting, page 3 of your package, gentlemen. Any questions or concerns from that? Mr. Stolberg.
I'll give you the motion to approve the minutes.
All those in favor? That is carried. Excellent. Thank you. No business arising from said minutes. And we'll start with the introductions, and we're going to start with Mr. Rich Fitzgerald, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My name is Rich Fitzgerald, and I'm a development officer with the County of Stettler.
Michelle Hoover, Legislative Assistant.
Ernie Gender, good afternoon. Paul McKay, board member.
Dave Grover, board member.
Larry Clark, board member. Justin Stevens, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Les Stuhlberg, board member.
James Nyberg, Chair for the Municipal Planning Commission.
Craig Teal, Director of Planning and Development.
Thank you, Bruce, Director of Municipal Services.
And just in the back.
Let the work.
Thank you. Okay, welcome everybody. So typically we would start with 6.1, but is the board okay to deal with, I think it's, which one are we going to? 7.1 or 7.2 or 7.3?
7.2.
7.2. Okay, so the board's okay with that? Seeing nodding of head. Since we have willing participants, let's go to that. Who's taking this one?
It'll be me, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
So on page 69 of your package, the application is to create about a 29-acre parcel out of a previously unsubdivided quarter section. And when you take a look at the sketch on page 77, when I say it's a previously unsubdivided quarter section, it doesn't have a full quarter, but the lake does take a large portion out of it. The rest is the public right of way around the lake. And then there's no other private titles or privately owned titles created of that. So it's not a full 160, but it still qualifies as an unsubdivided quarter section in terms of our policies in the MGA. The applicants are requesting the split to create the large about 29 acre parcel you can see outlined in the pink on the sketch, leaving the remainder just a little under 59 acres to the north, containing the farmstead and the existing buildings. In part, this is to reflect the ownership of the parcel and a little bit of estate planning being done by the family. The application is subject to the Buffalo Lake IDP requirements, and basically it's in the limited development area. And what you're seeing on the screen represents the maximum amount of development, 2 parcels per quarter section that are allowed under that IDP. Anything further would be considered a multi-lot subdivision, and generally speaking, it's not allowed in this area, subject to that IDP. There are other restrictions dealing with the way it can be serviced. It cannot be serviced with an open discharge, given that it's within 100 meters of the lake. So in the future, when something is developed, we'll have to use a holding tank that's either trucked away or a in-ground treatment facility or some sort of enclosed holding tank as well to make sure it doesn't get leaching into the soil system, into the lake and groundwater. In terms of the MDP, the parcel, almost 29 acres, is considered a bareland parcel. It's not considered a farmstead removal. And our preferred parcel size is up to a maximum of 5 acres. But I want to emphasize to the panel that preferred is the wording of that policy, which does leave some discretion for the exercise of whether or not a large parcel will be considered by the commission. Usually, sometimes the open discharge space is one of the things that tips the balance in our decision making on that. But in this particular location and context, they're not allowed to have an open discharge. So that argument is not at play. The more technical issues, so the MDP that really, whether or not it satisfies that requirement really depends on the commission's interpretation and desire on that word of preference of maximum size. There's no area structure plan that applies to this parcel. The land use bylaw requirement is a minimum of 3 acres, so it does satisfy that. Municipal reserves, because this is a first parcel out of an unsubdivided quarter section, we're not able to require reserve dedication, so that's not an issue. A little bit more about the water and wastewater utilities in the report, which I've already touched on. In terms of access and road dedication, the range road that's along the east side of the property, you can see that in the photo, and you can see it with the fainted vehicle track coming south, the driveway that goes west across the property over to the existing houses. There's no established physical road that runs east past the frontage of the proposed parcel. So the applicants have requested consideration of the existing driveway under an easement to be used as the access to serve the existing farmstead and also be shared to give an access into the proposed parcel rather than township road. So it's range road 22-1 to a municipal standard about 100 meters or so south of this existing location. And staff have recommended that in the conditions attached to the report.
Just to back that up a little bit, say that again.
So on the sketch on the screen,
Yeah.
rather than extend the physical county road south on 22
Oh, I see for the report. I see. Okay.
nice 20-1. That's not
Okay,
22.
you said 20,
Yeah,
so
I did. My mistake.
I'm with you.
So rather than that, use the existing driveway or the first portion of it coming east-west as the access to be shared between the two parcels is the request put in by the applicants. In terms of the Rural Development Fund, the policy for a first bare parcel out is the first 5 acres pays $50, and every acre thereafter would pay $1,000 an acre. So when you calculate that out for the 28.69 acre parcel, that's a charge of $23,740. Given that we're close to the lake and this is an area of known historical resources, there is a need to confirm that with the province that there's the development that's proposed is okay. So there's a need to get a clearance on the Historical Resource Property Act, Impact Act. What that means is the applicant would have to approach the ministry using their digital portal to let them know about the nature of the proposed subdivision and in the future the development, and get confirmation or a clearance letter, which typically requires if you find anything along the way, you may be expected to stop and report. But that's a follow-up condition that we do need to satisfy the requirements of the Buffalo Lake IDP. The other issue, we do have some brushing issues, Mr. Chairman, in terms of using that combined location on Range Road 20-1. Looking to the north, there may be a need for some brushing to make sure we get that site visibility to the north, although not a heavily traveled road and essentially a dead end with 2 parcels if approved by the commission. So recommendations is for approval, and the conditions you can find on page 74 of your package, starting on 74.
Okay. Would the applicant like to say anything? Just come to the mic if you would. We'll get a mic.
First of all, with regards to the municipal, development fund, we're just wondering if that was discretionary, and being that this is not being done for development, it's basically my great grandfather's homestead, and it was handed down to my mom and my aunt, and now we're trying to divide the families before it's so diluted that there's going to be too many people involved to make a good decision. So we're wondering if it was possible that you would waive that municipal development fund fee. And then the other thing was the question on the brushing. Is that just north of the driveway for a distance there, or?
Mr. Chair, so yes, so what we try to do is get clear visibility, given the track of road really goes north, so it'd be 160 meters for anything that's in the county road allowance.
Okay, that's easy to deal with.
Just for clarity for the applicant, I'll point out the county crews actually do the brushing in the county road allowance.
Okay, thank you.
So I just have one question, I guess. The approach issue, did you check with our county forces to see what it would take to put a approach into this particular property? Because I think we do put up some money to help upgrade the road a little bit and move that down. It would make more sense to have a separate parcel, separate ownership, and that whole caveat thing gets kind of silly and ugly in my opinion. So I would like to see an approach done, just go south a little bit. We've done that in the past where we've asked people to do that.
Mr. Chair, I didn't explore this in detail with them, but I can give you some perspective on that approach. The amount that we would contribute under our policy to a max is $10,000, which to build a gravel road from scratch doesn't get you very far. In addition, we have to then maintain the expanded length of road. And we also end up going through the formal development agreement process just to manage the actual proper construction of the roadway as well. Assuming we're not using county forces to do the building, which is one of our other options under our policy. So it's either they hire their own contractor and we will contribute if council approves the grant, which is another step we have to go through, is get formal council approval for the grant up to 10,000, or we get an estimate from the county staff and forces to be able to do it, which unfortunately does have an impact on our program to be able to fit that in compared to say going to the private sector, who may be a little bit more timely. So we did weigh those in looking at, can we live with an easement in this particular circumstance? And that's why from the planning staff perspective coming back, we thought we could live with an easement.
So my question is to the applicant, are you guys aware of our $10,000 grant that would help you to actually put an approach and build that road up so that it would have its separate own approach?
We are now.
Okay. So, it doesn't have to be done today, but that's something that you could look at in the future as well, because it does clean that up if you guys are talking about separating. And I know families all get along right now, but you never know what happens 5-10 years down the road and how families change. So you may want to look at that, just that somebody doesn't want you using their driveway or whatever the case may be. Mr. Stevens, you had your hand up. You were waving at me so diligently.
I did not.
Okay. Mr. Stolberg it was then.
Yeah, I was just going to say, weigh in on the discussion of the Rural Development Fund established initially to have a preferred size of approximately 5 acres so that it wouldn't waste agricultural land. But once you get up to near 30 acres, that land is going to still be able to be used for agricultural. So I can see, a legitimate argument to consider some, at least relaxation on that.
Now I knew, see, I was bad premonition that you were.
In our policy, what does it say our preferred farm site, 5 acres?
For a bare parcel, our preferred is 5 acres.
So just looking at the map, I'm assuming that this would be still usable for pasture, the remainder, less 5 acres that would conceivably be developed for a residence or another dwelling?
Mr. Chair, if I can, that's correct. Theoretically, you should actually be able to do your building site with less than 5 acres. And the parcel, unfortunately, so there's another section in the legislation, agricultural parcels, but it only kicks in when you have the full 40 acres or bigger. And then we treat those parcels as agricultural. It's different. So we're below that threshold. So the question is, as Councilor Schulberg indicated, is how you feel about the remainder being left in potential use, although be it kind of a smaller, maybe 23 to 24 acre parcel for pasture or for hay or their crop.
We could speculate, but might be helpful since the applicant's here to ask what their intention for use on this subdivision is, because if it's going to be used as pasture, then it remains ag.
Right now, I would say that there's not going to be any change at this point. It's just we're going to have a dividing line so that we know where our families stand on as far as our ownership of our share or whatever the property is.
So my question to our development officer is it possible in the event that this is developed in the future, let's say they don't develop, then it remains ag. If they come forward with a development permit next year to put up a dwelling, could we get the rural development fund at that point? Because at that point, we would know how much is leaving ag usage.
Our policy for the rural development fund is not set up as part of the fee of the development permit. Compared to say the subdivision where we have a check and balance type, it very much starts leaning towards heavy on the subdivision applications. It does have some cross-reference to land use bylaws, but there's no real mechanism to make that happen. So I would not pin my hopes on that one. That's what I'm getting at.
And from my standpoint, unfortunately, we do have the rule in place, and it's unfortunate this one fits in between the 40 acres and lower amounts of 5 acres. We have done this in the past, and I'm hesitant to waive this because I mean, we had a development that, or a number of parcels just to the east where they paid $35,000 and they were right below that 40 acre threshold, which was unfortunate, but it was all part of their planning of going forward. Mr. Gender, go ahead.
So what would it take in order to say like withdraw this at the moment and then redivide it so that it does end up being a 40-acre parcel?
That would be the applicant's decision, and I think they've done this for fairness in planning, I think. So I'm thinking, I don't know.
It could be an option that we could present to them to see whether they want to rediscuss this with our planning development or department to see whether it could be feasible for them then.
They need another 12 acres in the lower portion, and they got 18 to shuffle around in the upper one. So I guess.
Do you understand what we're stating there?
I do understand.
Okay,
Where we are is,
just go to the mic if you would. We do have other people listening, so.
okay,
And some of these guys are deaf, not me.
Yeah, so the reason for the unequal split is it's a 1/3, 2/3 split in our family. That's why we went to the 1/3, 2/3. But it's something that we could look at too, I guess.
So the option would be versus giving us the money is splitting the money up into the family, just a thought.
yeah.
So,
Agreed. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Stolberg.
And I was wondering, who has ownership of the property, like in the bottom end of the quarter, where it's that, because I know the quarter isn't that irregular shape. There's
That's a lake. Oh,
over here, like this piece there.
move it up if you could, Andrew, the map. The very, very south portion.
Right away, based on that black line boundary there.
That's a lake, as it must be considered.
Right in 100-year floodplain area.
It's, the cadastral's getting a little bit blended together there, but yes, by and large, and I'm not sure if the wetland you see in the very lower right corner is separated out or if it's part of the right of way proper. And then when I say it blends together, I notice that our road allowance doesn't have a line cutting it off from the provincial road right of way versus the one around the lake versus the road allowance proper. So
Go ahead. You'd like to?
Yeah, that boundary, if you were asking about it, is the surveyed land that they hold back, the government owns along the lake shore. That's that boundary there. That's
Just
100-year floodplain, whatever.
Yeah, no, that's what I thought. Thank you. So, would you like to take this back and talk to our planning department, or would you like us to make a decision on that?
I could clarify, I'm comfortable making the motion now as presented with staff recommendations, but that would include the rural development fund. If you guys chose to take this back and discuss it, the option is to go to a 40-acre parcel size, and then the rural development fund, you would be within policy and not be paying that, correct?
it'd be a stronger argument in terms of creating an agricultural parcel. It's still an exercise of discretion. for the commission.
It's not a given then? At 40 acres?
I would not say it's a given the way our policies worded, so.
But it's a higher percentage of chance going that way. If you ask my opinion on the 40 acres, I would be okay with giving it the discretion at that time.
Logically, it makes quite a bit of sense. You could have livestock or hay off a 40-acre parcel. It could be used for agriculture.
And you could, but it fits our policy a little bit better. And when trying to deal with, it's a blanket that we try to deal with everybody, so it doesn't look like we're giving preference to a 28 acre parcel up by the lake, where 6-7 years ago, we made a person pay the full development fund on a 35 acre parcel where they didn't want to go to the 40 acre threshold. So, we're in a tough position to be here making a decision. So, trying to keep it fair for everyone. Can we hold this for a little bit?
We can, Mr. Chair. So we do run up against our 60-day limit to make a decision, but it's within the ability of the applicant to assign an extension and give us another 30 days to continue processing their application.
Okay. So what we're going to do right now, we're just going to,
I just excuse me, a comment. Just on this is right now we've got a group of people sitting in a room talking, but this looks like a fairly desirable place for somebody to put a house in the future. So I do think back to the 40-acre piece more likely, because it may not happen this year, it may not happen for 5 years, but eventually if that parcel remains like that, with at the lake, I can see somebody developing if there's potential or opportunity. So I do think the 40-acre piece does make it fall into our policy a lot better.
so what I'm going to do at this current time is we're just going to table this, and I'm going to give you the opportunity, because I think if we go back up to the development permit, Rich is going to take that.
Yeah, I think I know where you're going with that. That'll probably buy me half an hour max.
Okay, then you can have a conversation with these folks and come back, and then we will have a discussion after that. Does that work for you, Mr. Teal?
It will work.
Okay, so I'll just take a motion to, Mr. Clark's going to give us a motion to table this to later in the meeting. All those in favor? Okay, and then we're going to go to Mr. Rich Fitzgerald, and folks, Craig will just talk to you outside, and you guys can give you a little time to think about this. Trying to work with you as much as we can. Okay, Rich, slow, go.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Andrew, if I can get you to ahead to page 11, I believe it is. Yes, thank you. Okay, so the subject property is a 160-acre bare parcel along the western border of the county. The property is currently used as pasture land with no structures or utilities located on the property. Access is gained via Township Road 39-2. ATCO is proposing to use the subject property to house equipment, workers, materials, tools, and fuel on site for the Central East Transfer Out Transmission Line project, known as CETO. This project was approved by the Utilities Commission in 2021, and the project is expected to run until the end of December 2026. Rig mats will be used to cover the ground. No stripping of topsoil or adding of gravel will take place. Lighting for the site will be pointed inward to minimize light pollution for adjacent properties. The project area will be powered by interconnection with existing overhead ATCO lines. Wastewater will be contained in containment units and hauled away periodically by back truck. The equipment on site will consist of a maximum of 10 modular trailers, a wash cart, garbage bins, equipment, washing station, and fuel storage with a secondary containment. The temporary laydown area will meet all required setbacks under the land use bylaw. Surface water for the site will be managed to ensure that property and positive surface flows are maintained around the temporary laydown area. This will be done using hay bales and swales. Once the project has been completed, the land will be returned to its original state. And then we can go through the requirements for a temporary work camp. And as you go through them, the application must, for the development permit, must provide the following information: the location, type, and for purpose for the camp, adjacent land uses, method of supplying water, sewage, waste disposal, the number of persons proposed to live in the camp, start date for the development, and reclamation measures once it's no longer needed. The application has described the location and purpose for the camp. All adjacent land uses are agricultural, with one residence located 400 meters east of the site and 1.2 kilometers north of the site. Water will be trucked in and stored in holding tanks contained in the trailers. Wastewater will be stored in wastewater tanks contained in the trailers and will be hauled away by back truck and disposed of in a nearby lagoon. Maximum number of employees occupying of the site at any given time is no more than 200. The start date of the camp is proposed to be July of 2025, with occupancy coming as soon as it is set up. The camp will be until December 31st. Reclamation will be done by seeding the disturbed area back to native vegetation once the site has been cleared of all materials. So the application meets all the requirements of the land use bylaw. So staff recommendation is that the application is approved with the attached conditions on the development permit.
Standard conditions. Presentation.
Okay, Mr. Stevens.
Didn't realize that was so tall.
This is the second camp that they've applied for, correct? The first one was on the eastern portion of the county.
That's correct.
And the time frame for use on this?
They're proposing to use it up until December 31st of 2026.
So, yeah. Okay. My question is,
Where you say nearby lagoon, they're not thinking that this would be Red Willow that they would be using.
I would think Erskine would be the closest.
Okay, so not nearby, but,
Right.
okay, fair enough. I was just hoping that there wasn't a plan that they were thinking that this was something that was misconstrued.
Or is it our lagoon or is it Mirror maybe or something?
Well, there is no nearby lagoon, I don't think.
I'm assuming they'll have to have a contract with one of the septic haulers to haul it away, and they'll have to deal with where they haul it, I guess.
Fair enough.
As long as it goes to an approved lagoon.
Okay.
One last question. Tax wise, taxes remain the same despite the change of use. I just don't want the landowner to get stung with a tax bill for change of use that they were unaware of.
Where this type of permit is a time limited permit, I would think, and I'm gonna caution that this is my opinion, not fact, but I would assume that it would have minimal effect on the taxes because it is a time limited use. It's not something that 5 years from now, they can go back and use it again for the same thing. It will go back to the agricultural use.
I would just hate for a landowner to get stung with this is no longer agriculture, it's being assessed as commercial, and what they may be included in their lease or rent, but I may not be, and I don't want them getting stung. I am comfortable making motion to pass this with staff recommendations.
Okay. Any questions, concerns, seeing that? I'm seeing none, so then I'll call the question. All those in favor? Thank you. Moving on, 6-3.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Andrew, could I get you to forward to page 20 in the package? Okay, so the subject property is located in Ocean Sands Heights at number 2 Marina Crescent and is surrounded by residential properties. There are no back alleys in this development for access to the rear of the property. The applicant is proposing to build a 26 by 36 ancillary building / garage in the front yard. Due to the topography of the property with its steep slopes to the north, the property was developed with a walkout basement type dwelling, which was situated almost in the middle of the property. Due to the location of the dwelling and the topography of the land, placing a garage in the back is not a viable option. So that's why the applicant is requesting the variance to be able to place it in the front yard. To meet the requirements for variance, the application must not unduly interfere with the amenities of the neighborhood or materially interfere with or affect the use, enjoyment, or value of neighboring parcels of land. And you can also allow a variance to address site-specific conditions, which the topography of this property would be a site-specific condition. There are also several instances where properties in the surrounding area have ancillary buildings in the front yard. Therefore, the proposed development will match the neighboring properties and won't unduly interfere with the amenities of the neighborhood or affects the use and enjoyment or value of the neighboring parcels. The garage will also be orientated in such a way so that vehicles entering or leaving the garage will not be doing so by directly entering or off of the county road. They have to enter onto the private property, then turn into the garage, so people won't be backing directly out of the garage into the road. That way vehicles will not cause any issues with the flow of traffic. So if you look in the site photo, you can see the yellow flag in the top photo. That was, and you see the orange tape, that was the footprint of where they were proposing to build it. When they had the utilities located, they were pretty close to that gas utility line. So we got verification from Apex that they have to be a minimum of 1 meter away. But the applicant agreed to go a little bit farther at 1.2 meters away from that utility line. And they are outside. There is a utility right away across the front of the property, and they are a considerable distance away from it. The blue line that you see runs in, that's the water line. And I spoke to our utilities department, and they were also okay with the location of the garage being there and not interfering with their utility line. So staff recommends that the application be approved with the attached conditions, and they're pretty much standard conditions for an ancillary building. That concludes my presentation.
Any questions or concerns? Go ahead.
Well, since the utilities have been dealt with and no one had any concerns, I will move it with staff recommendations.
Okay, I just make one note, I think.
Now, this is in Roshan Sands height, right?
Right.
There's been some issue with grade leveling over there since when we put the pavement in. I just want to double check with the folks that they are making sure that they're at the right grade level. I think we've had some issues in the past with some buildings and stuff going in that they were measuring off the old grade level, not the new one, so.
Mr.
Also with the variance, when we look at the pictures, does that cut, like, does that affect the neighboring residents on where they, for view, et cetera?
I guess it would. It shouldn't interfere with the view of the lake because it's going to be lower than the height of the garage is lower than the height of the house.
Okay.
But as far as view, like from when they're pulling out of their driveway, no, it's set back. Like this development has a very wide road right of way. So, and then there's a utility right of way that they have to be outside of it as well. So even when you start at their private property line, you're quite a ways back from the road on this one. It's not like some of our urban style developments have a narrow roadway. This one is quite wide. So the property line of the private property is actually quite a ways back from the road.
Did that answer your question? Okay, Mr. Stevens?
I was just going to say that the view that changes is whether you see a view of the neighboring house or a neighboring garage. Like it's away from the viewscape, if you will.
Viewscape's on the back of the house.
So do you want to look east and see a house or a garage or trailers? It's kind
I
of.
know, but it still blocks your yard. Like when you put that big of an area in, it blocks your yard. From an open piece to a boxed in piece. And we're always doing these variances up there. I don't know why we can't change our land use bylaw.
Thank you. Mr. Gender will fix that next year. Okay. Any questions or concerns that I have other than the two that we've already proposed? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. 6.3 now. Page 27 of your package, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Andrew, if I could get you to scroll to page 31, please. So the purpose of this application is to consider the placement of a manufactured home, 2017 model. It's called Friendships Homes Mobile, 76 foot by 15 foot 4 inches, deemed to be a manufactured home, which is a discretionary use and construction of a 12 by 16 deck and a 24 by 24 ancillary building, which are permitted uses within the Hamlet Residential District. The subject property is located in the hamlet of Botha on the north side of 50th Avenue. The applicant is proposing to place a manufactured home with an attached deck and construct an ancillary building on the 0.19 acre lot. There is no existing approach onto the property, and the applicant has submitted an application for an access approach. The proposed location for the approach onto the property will meet county specifications. Sorry, I lost my page here. So it does have clear sight lines in both directions. The applicant has indicated that they will not be updating or renovating the outside of the manufactured home. So what you see in that picture is what it will look like. It's going to have the same skirting and everything once it gets to the new location. Section 102.3 of the land use bylaw, as amended, provides for a manufactured home as a discretionary use in the Hamlet Residential District. Section 67.2 deals with the skirting of the manufactured home, including the finishing to the satisfaction of the Development Authority, must be completed within 30 days of the date of the manufactured home being placed on the site. 67.3 speaks to the appearance, design, and construction of ancillary structures such as patios, porches, additions, and skirting shall complement the design of the manufactured home. Where a development permit application has been approved for a manufactured home, any renovations or improvements required to ensure that the manufactured home complies with this bylaw shall be listed as conditions of the development permit. Notwithstanding section 31.1, all renovations that are set out as conditions of the approval of the development permit shall be completed within 1 year of the issuance of the development permit. So as you can see, that the deck is the same deck that is proposed to be brought with the manufactured home, so it does complement it. The skirting looks well, it looks great as well. So the manufactured home meets all the requirements of the land use bylaw. It's less than 10 years old, is well skirted, and is great physical appearance. The additions to the manufactured home, deck with a pergola, are well constructed and complement the manufactured home. So we did add one condition on the permit, and that's to match with the land use bylaw, that the skirting of the manufactured home, including finishing to the satisfaction of the Development Authority, must be completed within 30 days of the manufactured home on the site. So we recommend that this application be approved with the attached conditions in the development permit.
So this is a garage and a home together.
Yeah, so the garage is going to be new construction, but the manufactured home is being brought from one site to the
Okay. Yeah, just so everybody knows, we're doing two here. Mr. Clark.
I'll move staff recommendations.
Okay. Any questions, concerns that anybody has? None. Seeing all those in favor. Thank you. That's carried. Okay. 37. 6.4.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the purpose of this application is to consider the detached dwelling as a permitted use in ancillary building oversized, which is a discretionary use within the agricultural district. The subject property is located south of Stettler at 20074 Township Road 36-4. The surrounding properties are made up of residential and agricultural uses. The applicant is proposing to build a detached dwelling and an ancillary building oversized, which will be an open-faced storage shed, 36 by 60, to store equipment and hay for the applicant's horses. The applicant will be removing the existing dwelling from the property. The dwelling will be repurposed on another property and not demolished. The approach onto Township Road 36-4 has clear sight lines in both directions. The land is mostly flat with a slight change in elevation towards the road. There is an existing Quonset on the property which is used as a well. If I can get Andrew to scroll. So the land that you see behind that fence, that's where they're proposing to build the oversized shop. As you can see, it's mostly flat. They don't have to remove any trees. And the house in the bottom picture, that's the house that they are proposing to remove and replace with a new structure.
I see three pictures there, or three structures. What's the?
So, yeah, so the one is a gazebo, that the old garage, that will be removed. I'm assuming they'll probably demolish that one. But the gazebo structure will stay, but the brown house is the one that is going to be relocated to a different property.
And then they're gonna put a new house there?
Yeah, not in the exact location, but in that same general vicinity of where the old house was.
So is that part of this development permit?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It meets all the requirements of the setbacks. It meets the land use bylaw. The only reason that it was discretionary is the size of the shop that they're proposing to build.
Okay, fair enough.
So staff recommendation is to approve the application with the attached conditions.
Mr. Grover?
Move it.
Okay, any questions, concerns? I am seeing none. I'll call the question. All those in favor? That's carried. Go.
25035, page 46 of your package, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Could I get Andrew to scroll to page 47, please? So the purpose of this application is to consider the agricultural operation, which is a 26-foot diameter greenhouse and beekeeping, which is a discretionary use within the country residence agricultural district. The subject property is located north of Stettler at 19238 Highway 601. The surrounding properties are made up of residential and agricultural uses. The applicant is proposing to build a 26-foot diameter greenhouse and have a maximum of 10 beehives on a 10-acre parcel. The applicant has another recently approved development permit for an ancillary building, which was a 24 by 24 Quonset on the property. The applicant has a transportation and economic corridors permit number 2025-0050475. The approach onto Highway 601 has a clear line of sight in both directions. Section 96.3 of the land use bylaws as 144310 as amended provides for an agricultural operation as a discretionary use in the country residence agricultural district. 96.9 describes an agricultural operation as a discretionary use, and it lists a greenhouse as one of the uses in the agricultural operation in this district. The applicant's proposed development to their parcel includes a Quonset, previously approved. We've already discussed that. The proposed development will fit with the surrounding properties, and so the staff recommends that the application be approved with the standard conditions on the draft development permit that's attached.
Okay. Questions, concerns? I just have one about the approach. Is it able to handle if they're gonna throw a greenhouse on here now? There's gonna be more traffic. Does the approach fit the conditions?
So where this approach is off of 601, our jurisdiction is kind of limited, and they do have an Alberta roadside development permit through Alberta Transportation.
Okay.
They're not, the greenhouse is for their own use. Unfortunately for whatever reason, a greenhouse is listed as an agricultural operation, and therefore it becomes discretionary, even though they're not, there's no commercial aspect to this application. It's for their own uses, but it still falls under that definition, so.
Fair enough. Okay. Mr. McKay.
If there's no other questions or comments, I will move that the approval of this with the conditions set out.
What if there's questions or comments? Are you not going to move it forward? Okay, any questions or comments? Mr. Stevens.
Last month, we discussed our land use bylaw update when it comes to beekeeping.
Oh, sure. Down on the bees. Go ahead.
If we approve this now, that's fair, but are we willing to relax our radius for beehives in general, as discussed at our public delegation?
I don't think there's an application here for beehive keeping, is there?
Yeah, they did mention, they weren't aware that they needed a permit, and when we did the site inspection, we noticed the beehives, so we recommended that they make those part of this application. But I should also comment, all their bees had died over the winter, so.
Salt in the wood. Start over. So there would have to be a relaxation of that.
We haven't brought in that change yet. It is,
So an agricultural operation is discretionary use. But yeah, we don't have any specifics around.
Okay, so right now, if we push this, there's nothing to say. If we put it through. Okay,
Is that clear for everyone? Okay. We have a motion on the table to approve this with recommendations. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you. And perfect timing, Mr. Teal. We're just done, so we're going to, oh no, we're gonna. Addition. So, can we go to addition, or do you want to go with, let's finish off the additions. Okay, let's go. Mr. Rich Fitzgerald, let's go to page 3 of the additions package, gentlemen.
I get Andrew to scroll to page 5 of that additions package.
Oh, yes, I know what this one is now.
Okay, so the purpose is to consider the construction of a recreational facility outdoor, which is a permitted use, and placement of a CCAN, which is a discretionary use within the public services district due to it being located within a multi-lot subdivision. The subject property is located in Buffalo Lake Meadows, and the surrounding properties are made up of residential uses. There is an existing playground, sand volleyball court, and a development permit has been issued earlier this year for the construction of a pavilion. The applicant is proposing an outdoor sport court and CCAN for equipment storage. There is an existing approach onto the property, and the sight lines are clear in both directions. Section 81.1 of the land use bylaw, as amended, provides for a CCAN as a discretionary use in this district. Notwithstanding the provisions of any land use district, the placement and use of a CCAN as an ancillary building on any parcel of land adjacent to or within a multi-lot subdivision shall be a discretionary use, and the Municipal Planning Commission may, in its sole discretion, approve a development permit application for this CCAN on a temporary basis. The applicant's proposed development will be an improvement to the playground area and will serve Buffalo Lake Meadows and surrounding communities. The location of the CCAN is along the east side fence, out of the way of the main area. Its main purpose is equipment storage for the sports complex. The proposed recreation facility outdoor is a permitted use in the district. The development of the pavilion has been previously approved. I guess what I would speak to on this one, I know that CCANs are a bit of a controversial issue in the multi-lot subdivisions. But they are a preferred use, especially for storage, because they are very secure. They're hard to get into if someone's trying to steal the equipment out of it. And I would also speak to the fact that the community association has been good to deal with in the past, and I have full belief that they would keep the CCAN looking well as well. So in saying all that, Staff recommends that the application be approved with the attached conditions.
The nice thing about this, if that it doesn't stay in decent shape, it's easily removed. So I have no problem. But go ahead, Mr. Stevens.
I will move this be approved with staff recommendation.
Okay. Any questions or concerns? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? And opposed? We have one opposed. Michelle? Mr. Grover? Doesn't like CCAM. All right. Mr. Teal, you're back with us. So gentlemen, we're going to go to 7.2 of our regular meeting package. And page 69 again of the regular package. Go ahead, Mr. Teal.
Actually, I'm going to ask one of the members of the family to come up and their conclusion with the panel.
Thank you, Mr. Teal. We considered different options there. Currently with the 2/3, 1/3 split in our family, it's kind of where we want to stay with it. And with that, I would like to ask that you'd consider waiving the intermunicipal plan fee or whatever it is. But if you would consider that, we'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, fair enough. Gentlemen, we have in front of us a development permit or a subdivision permit. So what say ye? Do I have someone who would like to make a motion to go forward? Mr. Stevens.
I will move that we approve it with staff recommendations.
Just so everybody's aware, that would mean that there would still be the rural development fund applied to this particular parcels. Okay, I will call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? We have one opposed, Mr. McKay, and there you go. So you have the development to subdivisions go ahead, but there is still the rural development fee that will apply. So, okay, thank you very much. Okay. 7.1, page 54. Mr. Teal, you're going to take this?
Chairman. So this one, if we can go to the sketch on page 61, please. This application is in the area north of Dinalda, and it's a farmstead removal from a unsubdivided quarter section. So you can see it in the lower right of the quarter section, and the pink area is a little over 10 acres, and that's largely to accommodate the existing open discharge system, although the location of the actual open discharge may have to be adjusted to be able to fit precisely within the parcel that you see on the screen. There is not many concerns associated with this application. It meets our requirements. In terms of the Rural Development Fund contribution, the parts that make up the farmstead themselves accommodate a fair amount of the 10 acres that we allow for a farmstead to be exempt from the Rural Development Fund, but there's still about a 2 to 3 acre area that doesn't meet the list of one of those features and would be subject to the Rural Development Fund in the tune of around $2,300, I believe. The conditions we can find on page 58 and 59 of the package, which helps if I'm looking at the actual package. And they are fairly standard in terms of having a surveyor doing up the plan, making sure taxes are addressed, and confirming that new location or point of discharge meets exactly in that north-south boundary. So the surveyor will have to locate that and confirm that it does meet the requirements for the setbacks. And my mistake, the Rural Development Fund calculation comes out to $2,580 in this particular case. Since the time the application report was written, and given the age of our photo, it turns out brushing condition may or may not be needed. They've already been in contact with Public Works and got that in the process. Similarly, with the access to the balance, there's already an agricultural approach not reflected on our 2021 photo. Mr. Chair, even though those seem to be satisfied, I'd be inclined just to leave them on the list of recommended conditions. They're an easy check mark later on when we're reviewing this drawing brought in by the surveyor. With that, their staff recommendation is for approval, subject to the conditions that you can find attached to the report.
Questions or concerns? Mr. McKay?
I will make the motion to approve it with staff recommendations or conditions.
Any questions, concerns? Seeing none, call the question. All those in favor? You're in favor, Mr. McKay?
Yes.
Okay.
I did have my hand up, maybe on the screen, but I put up.
Oh, that's it.
Unanimously carried.
7.3 now, different rider.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So yes, sketch is already up. So this application is still near the lake, same east end. So it is subject to the Buffalo Lake IDP requirements. So that means making sure it's a limited development area. We're not allowed to have a multi-lot subdivision. This is the first parcel out of an otherwise unsubdivided quarter section. And on the screen, though, it does look like it's already in two parts. That's because there is a physical part of the land and title separated to the northwest by the province's own road allowance that goes into the Boss Hill Provincial Park area. So that is not a approved subdivision. It's all part of the same title. It just jumps the road, so to speak. So it does qualify as an unsubdivided quarter section. And the proposal is to create about a 3-acre parcel on the north of Township Road 41-2. And given that it's the proposal is to use a holding tank and have it hauled away as opposed to an open discharge, so it does meet that can fit in a 3-acre area. And it's just over 3 acres, which also satisfies land use bylaws required 3-acre minimum. It does meet the MDP's preferred size of up to 5 acres. And staff, there's a little bit of a brushing concern on the township road that has been taken care of with their typical condition of approaching the public works to undertake brushing. And an new access and approach will need to be put in. So that's an approach application will have to go in. But there's lots of sight distance either direction, especially after the brushing is taken care of for the existing access on the township road to accommodate a future driveway. There's also enough depth north-south. Sometimes it can be deceiving when you consider our setback from the center line of the road allowance. So it does mean the house will be pushed back in kind of the southern half of the pink area, the proposed parcel, which is also where the applicant desires to place their house in any case. So the staff recommendation is for approval with the conditions that we can find on page 90 of the package, Mr. Chair.
And just a quick question, why the jog again?
The jog goes around, there's a bit of a, see if I got this correct, I think it's a horse corral in that area, or a little of a practicing area for stampede, or for rodeo, sorry, not stampede. And they were roughly trying to follow the fence line, and it drops down there quite a bit, and the slope as well. So
Okay, fair enough. And then what are they using as an approach to this? Build a new approach?
they will have to put in a new one, but along their frontage on 41-2, there's good sight lines either direction.
Okay.
And it's nice and flat in there, so they have lots of space to work with. Right now, they haven't chosen whether or not it'll be on the east side or the west side or right in the middle.
Okay. Questions, concerns on this one? Mr. McKay?
Biggest question I have is, it looks like they're cutting it out to make a new area to build a new home. That's why I just wondered why they didn't include the building site already, but it would make sense if they cut it out to put a new building site.
Yes, Mr. Chair. So this is for a bare parcel for a new dwelling, yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Stevens?
I will move it with, that we approve it with staff recommendation.
Okay. Mr. Gender?
It's just saying that the north boundary of the widening of the road is only recommended.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Mr. Chair. Yeah, so in the body of the report, we do recommend that, and we follow up with a list of conditions. So on page 90, one of the list of conditions, number 5, is that we use a road acquisition agreement for that 5-meter dedication across the township road, not the provincial road that splits. That's not our road to worry about for widening. So it has been followed through. If the panel approves the condition, there will be a requirement for a road widening agreement.
That's what we changed it to before. We used to take it and have them survey it, but that got expensive when they may or may never ever do it, right? So at a point that it needs to be widened, that the county determines that it needs to be widened, we will have the right of way and the access to do it at that point. As long as Mr. Teal makes sure and registers the KV. Okay, any other questions or concerns? All those in favor? That's carried, thank you. No pressure, Mr. Teal, no pressure.
No problem.
Great. Page 100 of your package, department report. Who's doing this one?
I can take this one, Mr. Chairman. So as you can see, we're pretty much on par with the numbers of where we were last year. We started the year off a little bit slow, but it's really picked up in the last month or so. So I think we're about one development permit behind where we were at this time last year. Still a mix of development permits, mostly residential use are what the permits are. But we've definitely been busy following up on all the applications. Sometimes this chart doesn't really represent the amount of calls that we get, and questions and different things that we follow up on. I think we're going to try to start working that in to our department report so that you can get a more clear picture of what the department does in the run of a month. But yeah, enforcement files are definitely picking up. It's that time of year when the lake gets busy and county gets busy. But no, it's been good. It's been very busy, and it's positive to see that there's still lots of construction going on and lots of development. So
I mean, the lot out at Gatsby, it looks like that's a beautiful advancement there. Looks like it's really nice there where they're putting that trailer in the garage. Is it both or Gatsby? No, oh, yeah, both the Gatsby. Yeah, so that'll be good. Yeah. So good. Okay. Yeah. Any questions for this staff report? Can I get a mover to receive for information? Mr. Stolberg. Also move. All those in favor? Thank you. Okay. Time extension for subdivision 2024-06, page 102 of our package.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This fast, how quick a year goes by. So the applicant has been approached and has approached us and asked for additional time to finish meeting the conditions for this approval. If the original decision in the sketch is attached, you may recall this is the one that created a series of agricultural parcels in Highway 11. Basically adjusted all the boundaries to reflect what the actual physical fields are compared to, say, where the quarter section lines were. Along the way, they've run into some difficulty sorting out right-of-ways with ATCO, and that's really the item that's still holding up and why they haven't been able to make the one-year deadline for getting to registration. So this is a first request for extension, and it's kind of an all or nothing. We don't get to modify any of the conditions from the original approval. It's either the panel approves the extension for another year or does not. Staff don't see any dramatic change in policy that would need us to revisit the application, especially since it was only approved a year ago, and we recommend approval of the extension for a one-year period.
Any questions, concerns for staff? Mr. Stolberg?
I'll move that we grant the extension.
Okay. Any questions, concerns? Seeing none. All those in favor? That's carried. 111, change for the MPC meeting date.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So due to a bit of a scheduling issue between ASB and emergency planning session that we have, training session planned, we're requesting that MPC be moved from June 18th to the Thursday, June 19th in the afternoon at 1 o'clock. And Andrew, I can't remember, ASB, is that going?
Yes, at your council meeting, you'll see a request to reschedule at this meeting, the same.
Well, for the morning slot.
Yeah. So say that again, what will that be?
It'll be June 19th at 1 o'clock for MPC.
And ASB will be asking council to set ASB to be the morning of as well.
Okay, so. Okay,
Any questions or concerns on that one? Okay. Mr. McKay?
I'll move that we move it to June 19th, Thursday.
Thank you. All those in favor? It's carried. So be it. No old business and in-camera session. Let's take us in camera. Mr. McKay,
So.
all those in favor?
You're in favor, yes? Okay. And Mr. Grover wants to leave, so. Oh,
Next meeting, June 19th, Thursday.
And I'm gonna take Mr. McKay as the one telling us that we get to leave, because you guys are switching chairs. All those in favor? Oh, Carrie, thank you.
I'm not.